cat tattoo? Looks pretty cute. Not really what special ops types get inked, right? The young recruit barely finished speaking when the whole training room erupted in snickers. The short-haired girl, small frame, didn't react at all, still quietly packing her gear. But then a sharp voice cut through from the corner. "Shut it. That's a Tango Violet unit cipher." The colonel had just walked in, and he was staring directly at her tattoo. Mae Collins, 32 years old, petite build, black shoulder-length hair, no rank insignia, wearing standard training gear only. She'd been assigned to the logistics training group, mainly handling transport management, supply runs for the training grounds. Nobody paid attention to her. Just another face in the crowd of support staff, shuffling between warehouses and equipment checks. A group of young soldiers spotted a small tattoo showing behind her collar, a purple triangle with the marking TV08. They thought it was some kind of joke. TV08? Is that like a television channel code? One laughed. Nah, probably Tattoo Violet. You know, one of those female empowerment dance crews. Another chimed in. Maybe she's into that kawaii anime stuff. All those purple symbols and cute characters. The jokes kept coming. Mae Collins continued folding her training shirt, methodically lacing her boots. Her movements were precise, economical, no wasted motion. But the recruits didn't notice that part. "Hey, what's your ink supposed to mean?" called out Private Jensen, the loudest of the group. "Did you pick it from a flash sheet at some mall parlor?" "Bet it's got some deep meaning about friendship and rainbows," snickered another. Mae finished packing her gear bag. She moved with the kind of calm that comes from years of training, not the rushed, anxious movements of someone trying to prove themselves. She didn't look up, didn't acknowledge the comments. She simply continued preparing to leave the training facility. The other soldiers mistook her silence for weakness, or maybe embarrassment. They couldn't see what was actually happening. Mae was cataloging every face, every voice, every detail, not out of anger, but out of habit, because certain kinds of training never really leave you. "Come on, don't be shy," Jensen pressed. "We're all friends here. What's the story behind your cute little symbol?" Mae zipped up her bag and slung it over her shoulder. Still no response. The group exchanged glances, some starting to feel awkward about the one-sided conversation. "Maybe she doesn't speak English," someone whispered. "Or maybe she's just stuck up," Jensen muttered, his tone shifting from playful to irritated. Mae turned toward the exit, her footsteps silent on the concrete floor. The kind of silent that comes from knowing exactly how to move without making noise. But again, the recruits didn't notice. CTA Comment Act 1. Have you ever seen someone get mocked for a detail others didn't understand? Type, "I've seen it." Mae offered no reaction. She simply continued folding her shirt, tying her bootlaces, preparing to leave the training grounds. Her movements remained methodical, unhurried, professional. But just as she reached for the door handle, Colonel Harlan Reyes, head of the special training facility, stepped inside. The room fell silent instantly. Reyes had that effect: 30 years of active duty, 2 tours in places that didn't officially exist, and the kind of presence that made even seasoned soldiers straighten their spines. He glanced around the room, taking in the scene. His eyes swept past the cluster of young recruits, past the scattered equipment, and then stopped, fixed on the small tattoo visible behind Mae's collar. His expression changed immediately. Everyone quiet. Who just mentioned that tattoo? Nobody dared speak. The playful atmosphere vanished like someone had flipped a switch. Reyes moved closer, his gaze locked on the purple triangle marking. Mae turned slightly, meeting his eyes for the first time. There was something there, a recognition that passed between them in a fraction of a second. "That symbol," Reyes said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority, "is not a joke. It's not from any tattoo parlor. And it's definitely not cute." Jensen, the recruit who'd been leading the jokes, shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, we were just making conversation. Didn't mean any—" "Shut it," Reyes cut him off. His attention remained fixed on Mae's tattoo. "That's a Tango Violet unit cipher. Classified reconnaissance encryption unit. Dissolved from official records in 2015. Nobody gets to wear that symbol unless they were specifically assigned. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. "Sir," stammered a corporal, "that unit, did it really exist? I thought it was just rumors." Reyes turned slowly, his steely gaze sweeping across the group. "I worked directly with Tango Violet operatives at the northern border stations. They operated independently, no official rank structure, no name records. Each member carried only a code designation and a single identifying mark." Mae remained perfectly still, her expression unreadable, but something in her posture had shifted, subtle, but unmistakable to anyone who knew what to look for. "The stories about ghosts in the field," Reyes continued. "Operatives who could disappear entire enemy communications networks without leaving a trace. Those weren't stories. Those were after-action reports that got buried so deep they might as well have been fiction." A heavy silence settled over the room. The recruits who'd been joking moments before now looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. "TV-08, Reyes said, reading the marking on Mae's neck. "That designation was retired when the unit was officially dissolved. Everyone who carried those numbers, they were ghosts before they ever left the service." Mae finally spoke, her voice quiet but clear. "Last assignment was Ghost Line Station. After that, standard discharge protocols didn't apply. Hard to process paperwork for someone who was never officially enlisted." The words hung in the air like a challenge, or maybe a warning. Private Jensen, who'd been so confident with his jokes, now looked physically ill. "Ma'am, we didn't know. The comments were just what?" Mae asked, tilting her head slightly. "Just assumptions based on appearances? Just jokes about things you don't understand?" Reyes crossed his arms, watching the interaction with the interest of someone who'd seen this kind of education before. "Here's what's going to happen," he announced. "You're going to learn the difference between what looks harmless and what actually is. And you're going to learn it fast. CTA comment Act 2. Have you ever seen someone get mocked until a high-ranking officer confirmed they belonged to something nobody dared name? Type, I remember that moment." Everyone stood frozen. The casual atmosphere of the training room had evaporated completely, replaced by something that felt dangerous and unfamiliar. A sergeant near the back raised his hand tentatively. "Sir, that unit, was it really real? I mean, we heard stories, but..." Colonel Reyes shifted his weight, his expression growing more serious. "Sergeant, I spent 18 months coordinating logistics for operations I can't name, in places that don't appear on any official map. Tango Violet operatives were the reason those missions succeeded. They went in first, came out last, and most of the time, nobody knew they'd been there at all." Mae stood quietly, her gear bag still slung over her shoulder. She looked smaller than ever next to the imposing figure of the colonel, but there was something different about her now. The way she held herself, the way she scanned the room, it was like watching someone slip back into an old uniform. "The dissolution order came down from levels so high they don't have public names," Reyes continued. "One day, Tango Violet operatives were the most valuable assets in the field. The next day, they officially never existed. Clean slate, fresh start, civilian life. Except," he paused, looking directly at Mae, "except the training doesn't just disappear. The skills don't just switch off. And the tattoos, well, some things are permanent." Private Jensen, who'd started the whole mess, finally found his voice. "Ma'am, we were completely out of line. The jokes, the comments, I had no idea." Mae turned toward him, her expression neutral but not unkind. "You couldn't have known. That was the whole point of the program. We were designed to be invisible, unremarkable, the kind of people you'd overlook in a crowd." "But the tattoo," another recruit ventured. "Why keep it visible? Wouldn't it be better to hide it?" Mae finished. "Maybe, but some things shouldn't be hidden. Some things need to be remembered, even if nobody understands what they're looking at." Reyes nodded slowly. The Tango Violet program was shut down because it was too effective, too independent, too hard to control. But the people who served in it, they earned the right to carry those marks, They earned the right to be remembered. The room remained silent, but it was a different kind of silence now. Respectful, cautious. "Ma'am," Jensen said quietly, What kind of missions did you do?" Mae considered the question for a long moment. "The kind where success meant nobody ever knew we were there. Where failure meant people died. Where the only record of what happened was..." She gestured toward her tattoo. "This. How many people did you save?" asked a young woman near the front. "I don't know," Mae replied simply. "That was the point. We extracted intelligence, disrupted communications, eliminated threats. But we never stayed long enough to count the aftermath. Success was measured in situations that never made the news." Colonel Reyes checked his watch. "Collins, you've got a logistics briefing in 20 minutes. These recruits have PT in 15. He turned to face the group. "Here's your new reality. You just learned that the quiet support staff member you were making fun of has more field experience than your entire training platoon combined. Think about that next time you decide to judge someone based on appearances." Mae adjusted her gear bag and moved toward the door. Then she paused and turned back. "The jokes about my tattoo," she said, addressing the room. "They didn't offend me. But they did teach me something about who you are, and more importantly, who you might become when it matters." She looked directly at Jensen. "In the field, assumptions get people killed. Quick judgments about what things mean, about who people are. Those split-second decisions based on incomplete information can be the difference between mission success and mission failure." "Yes, ma'am," Jensen replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Don't apologize for not knowing," Mae said, "but learn from it. Question your assumptions. Look deeper. And remember that some people carry their history on their skin for a reason." With that, she walked out, leaving behind a room full of people who would never look at tattoos or quiet support staff the same way again. CTA Comment Act 3. If you've ever mocked someone, then discovered they belonged to a unit you weren't cleared to mention, right? I learned the lesson. After that day, Mae continued her logistics work. Still quiet, still efficient, still largely invisible to most people on the base. But something had changed in how others interacted with her. No more casual jokes, no more dismissive comments. Instead, people began asking different kinds of questions. "Collins, what's the fastest way to stop bleeding from a deep cut?" "Ma'am, if someone's in shock, what's the first thing you do?" "How do you stay calm when everything's going wrong?" Mae answered each question with the same methodical precision she brought to everything else. Clear, practical, actionable information. No war stories, no dramatic revelations, just the kind of knowledge that could save lives. One afternoon, while inventorying medical supplies, a young medic approached her. "Ma'am, can I ask you something personal?" Mae looked up from her clipboard. "Go ahead. Did you ever have to save someone's life? In the field?" Mae set down her pen and considered the question. "The nature of my work meant that the people I helped usually didn't know my face. Success was measured in problems that never escalated, in disasters that never happened. Anonymous prevention rather than visible rescue. But you did save people. I prevented situations where people would have needed saving. Different approach, same result." The medic nodded slowly. "That must have been lonely, not getting recognition for what you did." Mae smiled slightly, the first genuine smile anyone had seen from her. Recognition wasn't the point. The point was that somewhere people got to go home safely. They got to see their families continue their lives, never knowing how close they came to a different outcome. "Do you miss it? The field work?" Mae glanced around the quiet supply room with its neat rows of equipment and careful inventory sheets. "I miss the certainty. In the field, you always knew exactly what your purpose was. Here." She gestured at the mundane surroundings. "The purpose is less clear, but it's still there." "What is it?" "Training the next generation, making sure that when you face a crisis, you'll know what to do, that when someone needs help, you'll be ready." The medic nodded, understanding dawning on her face. You're still saving people, just differently. Exactly. Mae picked up her pen again. And the best part is, now when I help someone, they get to know my face. They get to say thank you. They get to remember that help came from a person, not a ghost. She returned to her inventory, but the medic caught something in her expression, a sense of peace, of purpose fulfilled in a new way. CTA Comment Act 4. Type, I will live kindly. If you believe some tattoos aren't for showing off, but for reminding people to stay quiet at the right moments. Some tattoos look cute, but they're not meant for outsiders to understand, because they represent units that don't appear on any official roster. A joke that seemed harmless made a colonel snap to attention, because he knew that tattoo could only be earned by someone who survived something nobody dares discuss. The truth about military service isn't always visible in uniforms, ranks, or official records. Sometimes it's carried in small, permanent marks that tell stories most people will never hear. Sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who look the most ordinary. Mae Collins spent years being invisible by design. Now she chooses to be visible in a different way, not as a ghost in the field, but as a teacher, a mentor, a reminder that help can come from the most unexpected places. The lesson isn't about respecting military service, though that's important. It's about recognizing that everyone carries hidden depths, invisible histories, untold stories. The quiet person in the corner might be the most dangerous person in the room, or the most compassionate, or both. Before you judge someone based on what you can see, remember, the most important parts of their story might be the parts they're not allowed to tell.